Coming back home, the South African Farmers Development Association has welcomed the successful resolution of the recent impasse regarding the delivery-based transformation interventions funding. The sugar industry transformation interventions were first introduced by the sugar industry in 2018. Now, that association says the deal will ensure ongoing support for farmers by sugar industry partners. The total agreed amount of the fund was 1 billion rand over 5 seasons, which translated to just over 200 million rand per season. Contributions making up the transformation fund are extracted from levies contributed by all sugar industry members. While the agreed 5 years lapsed at the end of the 2023-24 season, the SASA Council has approved an extension of the fund for the 2024-25 season. Dr. Siyabonga Madlala, SAFDA Executive Chairman, joins us now. A very good evening to you, Dr. Madlala. Thank you so much for your time and joining us this evening. You've reached a crucial agreement on funding for sugar industry transformation interventions. Perhaps let's start off with you talking us through what this process has essentially entailed.
Good evening, Paul, and you at home. Firstly, the immediate transformation interventions were actually introduced in 2018-19, correctly so, but those then ended up being lumped into what we called now the reciprocity proposal, or the reciprocity commitment by the sugar industry of 1 billion over 5 years. But those were introduced just before that commitment was made, because they were meant to actually try and close the inequality gap between commercial farmers and small-scale farmers, and also to try and level the playing field. So, because in those seasons, the small-scale farmers were getting 0-0 statements or perhaps even negative statements after delivering their cane. So it meant they were losing money in what they were producing. So the sugar industry pledged to bring them closer to a positive situation. So then, after the 5 years, which has lapsed end of March of the reciprocity commitment, we expected the sugar industry to continue with what we call now the transformation interventions. That's where, firstly, we kind of could not find each other. But then, even there, when the industry committed to continue with it, there was somewhat an idea of changing the delivery-based interventions into another model. That's where the impasse came in.
So what does this now, in terms of the outcome, what does it mean for small-scale sugarcane farmers who essentially want to build their farms and expand?
It's very exciting. I must say that what we've seen as a trend since the introduction of these interventions, there's been an upward trajectory in terms of the production of small-scale farmers. There's been a new incentive for the farmers to continue farming, because now they could see positive statements. So the continuation, as has been agreed now, means that small-scale farmers can continue farming their cane positively, so making profits. And it's quite a significant milestone for the sugar industry to continue with this, because the small-scale farmers are foundational to the sugar industry. In fact, they play a critical role in terms of the throughput to the sugar mills, plus also the small-scale farmers are largely in the deep rural of the KZN and Mpumalanga. So it's an economic activity that stimulates the rural economy and is critical to the sugar industry. And one must appreciate even government, because of the small-scale farmers, the sugar industry is protected, and also the master plan commitment that has been facilitated by the ministers of trade and agriculture as well, because it is a significant industry.
Absolutely. With all the commitments that have been put down on paper, of course, it doesn't immediately take away the challenges that farmers in this space have been up against insofar as sustainability and growth is concerned. What are you facing as a sector?
Sure. We've faced a plethora of challenges. One must say that when COVID hit us, we would be aware that KZN was also hard hit with floods, also with unrest. So farmers are still trying to recover from those. But I must say, I'm impressed at the resilience of our farmers. They are continuing, and we are seeing an upward trajectory. But then the sugar industry has had a difficult run as well, because we've had an introduction of what we call HPL, the Health Promotion Levy, plus also the influx of imports. This is where I say the sugar industry depends largely on government support. We've seen government stepping in, trying to somewhat stall the increase of the sugar tax. We are still saying, in fact, we are appealing for the actual removal of the sugar tax, because it has actually affected even the milling sector. We've got 2 sugar mills, big companies under business rescue. Actually, also there was a shutdown of 2 milling factories because of that unfortunate challenge of the sugar tax as well as imports. But I must say, we are reimagining the industry. We really are hopeful that this even this new administration will take us forward and support us in terms of reimagining the industry.
How much of a factor, while we're still talking about some of the challenges the industry is facing, how much of a factor would you say some of the health trends we've seen emerging have had on the sugar industry as people look to alternatives and look to healthier ways? What is it doing for you as a sector in terms of perhaps navigating around it or thinking of solutions?
Look, it's unfortunate that there is a strong lobby, an anti-sugar strong lobby, when it's unfounded that only sugar causes diabetes. I must say, any excessive substance abuse does cause problems. In fact, diabetes would find that there's a whole lot of, contributing factors towards, what we call diabetes, or even health issues about, people gaining weight and all of that. But in essence, we've seen people trying to change into other unhealthy sugary, we'll call it sweeteners, and then you see on paper that it causes other harmful, or challenges. I mean, others maybe cancerous and so forth. So we encourage people to study, but also in the sugar industry, we are trying to venture into biofuels. We are exploring and studying and researching, aviation fuels and other things to diversify our industry and to reimagine the industry into a future that contributes largely on fuel and energy. So from what we see, we've got a wonder crop. The sugarcane stick is a wonder crop. We believe, if supported by government and supported by our country, by our communities, it can change into an energy source, and that being what is practiced in other countries like India and Brazil. We've seen how they've transformed their sugar sector into an energy sector, and we believe this country needs such. With challenges in ESCOM and all of that, we have an opportunity in this wonder crop.
And perhaps let's talk a little bit about the interventions in terms of how instrumental they've been in fostering industry-wide transformation. How would you rate that?
Let me tell you, it's quite exciting that when SAFDA got recognized in 2018, the sugar industry embarked on this journey of transformation. Look, even speaking to me now, I'm a member. SAFDA is a full-time member of the South African Sugar Association, permanently so, as gazetted by government end of March this year by Minister Patel. That's a big shift towards a transformed sector. This sector was largely seen as an untransformed sector. Yes, there's still a journey to go through. Well, we want to see the demographics of this country being reflected by the production of sugarcane, showing the numbers. We've got over 20,000 small-scale farmers visas, commercial farmers of about 1,000, meaning that the majority in terms of number produces about 15% of throughput. We would want to see that being translated to about 51 at least. Obviously, it takes time, and it's a led question, but I must say, small-scale farmers are now members of the sugar, and they sit in the table of distribution of spoil. And that, for me, is a big shift towards a future that will be inclusive. Obviously, there's a few steps to go further, but I must say the interventions have brought in tangible change. I mean, as we've seen, our farmers, some have bought vehicles, they've bought vans to start to work their farms. The others have built their homes. Others are excited, they're taking their kids to school. Especially these interventions come at critical times. There's a payment that comes in November when a farmer had already been paid maybe in June, but then they go broke towards December, but they get paid. And also there's a payment that comes in January, a critical time where our farmers are taking kids to school and they get paid. The small-scale farmer, who generally wouldn't have any money at the time, would have gone to a mashonisa, and they also get paid in March, which is, there's no industry that does that. I must commend the sugar industry for it, and I must appreciate, how swift even our counterparts, our partners, have actually come to a resolution as we did today to actually fix this, because farmers are already going out crazy that if you take away these interventions, you are taking them to doomsday, you are taking them to backwards where they were losing money. So it's quite positive from where we're sitting.
Thank you very much. Let's perhaps leave it there, and thank you for your time. Speaking there to Dr. Siyabonga Madlala, who is the SAFDA Executive Chairman, speaking to us there about some of the interventions that have come under focus within the sugarcane industry.